Every morning when you wake up, before the world rushes in with its noise, its expectations, and its demands, take a moment to remind yourself of who you are, of what you stand for, and of the truth that lives deep in your bones. Because the way you speak to yourself sets the tone for everything else. First, remember this: you are enough. Not once you accomplish this, not when you look like that, not if you prove yourself. Right now, exactly as you are. Flaws, strengths, uncertainties, and all. You are enough. And if that truth feels hard to believe, that's okay. Say it anyway. Say it until it becomes a whisper in your mind, a rhythm in your heart. Every single day, before the world rushes in with its noise and expectations, remind yourself of one simple truth: you are enough just as you are. Not when you accomplish more, not when you prove your worth, not when you fix every perceived flaw. Right now, in this moment, with all your strengths, insecurities, struggles, and triumphs, you are enough. So often we measure our worth by what we achieve. It is not how we look or how others perceive us. It is the foundation of who you are. We tell ourselves we'll be enough when we get the promotion, when we lose the weight, when we have the perfect relationship, when we're finally confident all the time. But the truth is, there will always be another goal, another standard, another way to convince ourselves we're falling short. The cycle never ends, unless we choose to break it. Being enough isn't about reaching some external benchmark. It's about recognizing that your worth is already intact. Nothing you do can increase or decrease your inherent value. You are a whole person, not a project that needs to be completed. Courage begins with showing up. Not when you're fearless, not when you feel fully prepared, not when you're sure of the outcome. Courage is stepping into the moment even with your doubts and uncertainties. It's raising your hand, speaking your truth, trying again after failure. It's allowing yourself to be seen, even when vulnerability feels like a risk. The bravest thing you can do is show up as yourself, unapologetically, imperfectly, and fully. The world doesn't need a polished, filtered, airbrushed version of you. It needs the real you, the one with quirks and contradictions, with strengths and struggles. Because when you give yourself permission to be authentic, you unknowingly give others permission to do the same. And that's how real connection happens. Perfection is a myth, an unattainable goal that will only leave you feeling exhausted and unworthy. You don't need to have it all together. You don't need to prove your worth by constantly striving for flawlessness. The people who love you don't love you because you're perfect. They love you because you're you. The messy middle, the part of life where things feel uncertain, where you're figuring it out as you go, where you're growing and stumbling and learning, is where the magic happens. If you wait until everything is perfect before you let yourself feel joy, you will spend your life waiting. Give yourself permission to embrace the imperfections, to make mistakes, to be a work in progress. Growth isn't about never falling. It's about learning how to rise each time you do. Your inner voice matters. The way you speak to yourself shapes your reality. Imagine if you talked to a friend the way you sometimes talk to yourself. Would you tell them they aren't good enough, that they're failing, that they don't deserve happiness? Of course not. You would remind them of their strength, their worth, their resilience. You would encourage them to keep going. You deserve that same kindness from yourself. Self-compassion isn't about ignoring your flaws or avoiding accountability. It's about recognizing that you are human, that you are doing your best, that you are worthy of the same grace you extend to others. Be gentle with yourself on the hard days. Celebrate yourself on the good days. And on the in-between days, simply remind yourself that you are enough. You don't have to have all the answers right now. You don't have to know exactly where you're headed. You don't have to be fearless. What you do have to do is trust that you are capable, that you are resilient, and that you will figure it out as you go. Life is not about reaching some final, perfect version of yourself. It's about continuing to show up, to grow, to experience, to live. The only person you need to be is yourself, and that is more than enough. So today and every day, remind yourself, you are enough. You are worthy. You are loved. Now go and live like you believe it. Courage is not about being fearless. It is not about waiting until you feel fully confident or completely prepared. Courage is simply about showing up, stepping into the moment, even when doubt lingers, even when your hands shake, even when you are unsure of what comes next. It is about allowing yourself to be seen, exactly as you are, with all your uncertainties, imperfections, and struggles. Showing up is the first step in everything that matters. It is what turns dreams into reality, what transforms fear into strength, and what separates those who only imagine from those who actually do. There will always be reasons to hesitate. Your mind will come up with 1,000 excuses, 1,000 ways to convince you that you are not ready yet. It will tell you that you need more time, that you need to be better, that you need to wait until you are sure of yourself. But the truth is, you will never feel completely ready. No one ever does. The people who do extraordinary things in life do not do them because they have no fear. They do them because they refuse to let fear hold them back. They step forward anyway, despite the uncertainty. That is courage. Courage is showing up for yourself when no one else does. It is believing in your own worth, even when the world tries to tell you otherwise. It is making the hard choices, standing up for what you believe in, and trusting that your voice matters. It is being willing to walk into uncomfortable situations, knowing that growth only happens when you are willing to stretch beyond what feels safe. It is understanding that failure is not a reason to stop. It is just part of the process. Every time you show up, you are proving to yourself that you are capable. Every time you take a step forward, you are building resilience. There will be times when showing up looks different. Sometimes it means speaking up in a room full of people when your voice shakes. Other times it means quietly doing the hard work behind the scenes, showing up for yourself in ways no one else sees. It might mean having a difficult conversation, taking responsibility for a mistake, or admitting when you need help. It might mean taking a risk on something that matters to you, even if there is no guarantee of success. Courage is not always loud. Sometimes it is the quiet decision to keep going when everything in you wants to quit. Showing up is an act of self-respect. It is telling yourself that you are worthy of taking up space, of being heard, of pursuing the things that set your soul on fire. It is refusing to shrink yourself to make others comfortable. It is reminding yourself that you do not have to be perfect to be valuable. Every time you step forward, even when it is difficult, you are strengthening the belief that you are capable of handling whatever comes next. Fear will always try to keep you small. It will whisper that you are not good enough, that you will fail, that people will judge you. But fear is a liar. It magnifies the worst possibilities while ignoring all the ways you are already strong, already worthy. The only way to quiet that voice is to move forward in spite of it. The more you show up, the more you prove to yourself that fear does not have the final say. Courage is built through action, not through waiting for the fear to disappear. Every great achievement, every meaningful relationship, every moment of growth begins with the decision to show up. It is the difference between watching from the sidelines and stepping onto the field. It is the difference between wishing and doing. It is the difference between living a life dictated by fear and one led by purpose. So today and every day, choose to show up, even when it is hard, even when it is uncomfortable, even when you are not sure how things will turn out. Show up for yourself. Show up for your dreams. Show up for the life you want to build. Because courage does not mean having no fear. It means deciding that something else is more important than that fear. And when you make that choice over and over again, you will realize that you are so much stronger than you ever thought possible. Perfection is an illusion that keeps so many people stuck. waiting for the right moment, the perfect conditions, the absolute certainty that everything will go exactly as planned. But life does not work that way. Growth does not work that way. There is no perfect version of you waiting on the other side of your accomplishments, no magical moment when everything clicks into place and stays that way forever. The truth is, perfection is a myth, and the sooner you release yourself from its grip, the sooner you can embrace the reality of the messy middle. The space where real life happens, where learning takes place, where mistakes are made and resilience is built. The messy middle is uncomfortable. It is the part of the journey where things feel uncertain, where you are figuring it out as you go, where you might feel lost or overwhelmed. It is the space between where you were and where you want to be, and it rarely comes with a clear map. It is where you take 2 steps forward and 1 step back, where you question yourself, where things get hard. But it is also where transformation happens. It is where you grow, where you build the skills, the strength, and the wisdom that shape who you are becoming. If you spend your life chasing perfection, you will never fully step into that space. You will always be waiting, hesitating, holding back, afraid to make a mistake or look foolish. But if you embrace the mess, if you allow yourself to be in progress rather than trying to be perfect, you will discover a kind of freedom you never imagined. People often believe that if they cannot do something perfectly, it is not worth doing at all. They convince themselves that if they cannot guarantee success, they should not even try. But perfectionism is just fear in disguise. The fear of failing, of being judged, of not measuring up. And that fear will rob you of experiences, of opportunities, of growth. It will keep you from trying new things, from taking risks, from stepping outside your comfort zone. But if you can shift your perspective, if you can see mistakes not as proof of failure, but as proof that you are learning, then you will begin to understand that the messy middle is not something to be avoided. It is something to be embraced. Progress is never linear. No one moves smoothly from one level to the next without setbacks, doubts, and unexpected challenges. Every person you admire, every success story you have ever heard is filled with moments of struggle and uncertainty. But those moments are often hidden because we tend to celebrate the outcome rather than the process. We see the highlight reel, not the hard work, the moments of frustration, the failures along the way. But the truth is, everyone is figuring it out as they go. No one has it all together, no matter how it looks from the outside. And the sooner you accept that, the sooner you can release the impossible pressure of trying to be perfect and simply allow yourself to grow. The messy middle is where courage is built. It is where you learn to trust yourself, to keep going even when things feel uncertain. It is where you stop waiting for everything to be perfect and start taking action instead. It is where you develop resilience, because resilience is not built by avoiding struggle. It is built by moving through it. If you wait until you feel fully ready, fully confident, fully capable, you will be waiting forever. The truth is, you become ready by doing. You build confidence by showing up, by trying, by learning from your mistakes. Perfection is not the goal. The goal is growth, and growth is messy. It is about being willing to start before you feel ready, to embrace the discomfort of learning, to take risks without knowing the outcome. It is about recognizing that your worth is not determined by how flawless you appear, but by your willingness to keep going even when things are hard. If you spend your life chasing perfection, you will always feel like you are falling short. But if you embrace the process, if you allow yourself to be imperfect, you will find a deeper sense of fulfillment, of joy, of self-acceptance. So let go of the myth of perfection. Stop waiting for everything to be just right before you take the next step. Step into the messy middle, the space where real life happens, where growth takes place, where you learn what you are truly capable of. You do not have to have it all figured out. You just have to keep showing up. Keep learning, keep growing, because the most beautiful things in life are not perfect. They are real, raw, and in progress, just like you. Vulnerability is often misunderstood. It is seen as weakness, as something to avoid, as a risk that exposes us to pain or judgment. But the truth is, vulnerability is not weakness. It is the greatest strength you can possess. It is the foundation of real connection, the birthplace of courage, and the key to living an authentic and meaningful life. Without vulnerability, there is no growth, no love, no true success, because everything worthwhile requires the willingness to show up fully, even when there are no guarantees. There is a natural instinct to protect ourselves, to build walls around the parts of us that feel tender and uncertain. We convince ourselves that if we stay guarded, if we never let people see the real us, we will be safe. But the cost of that safety is high. It keeps us from forming deep relationships, from chasing the things we truly want, from living in alignment with who we are. It is easy to put on armor, to pretend we have it all together, to avoid difficult conversations, or shy away from anything that makes us feel exposed. But real strength comes from taking off that armor, from allowing ourselves to be seen, from having the courage to say, "This is me, and I am enough." Vulnerability is showing up even when you do not know how things will turn out. It is applying for the job you want even if you fear rejection. It is telling someone how you feel even when there is a chance they will not feel the same way. It is admitting when you need help, when you are struggling, when you do not have all the answers. It is being honest about your fears, your hopes, your dreams. It is allowing yourself to be imperfect in a world that constantly pressures you to be flawless. Strength is not about never falling. It is about getting back up. And the people who are truly strong are the ones who are willing to risk failure, who are willing to try again, who are willing to open themselves up to possibility. Vulnerability is not about weakness. It is about courage. It is about daring to take a chance, knowing that things might not go your way, but refusing to let that stop you. It is about standing in the discomfort of uncertainty and trusting that no matter what happens, you will be okay. The most powerful connections in life come from vulnerability. When you let someone see you as you truly are, your fears, your insecurities, your dreams, your struggles, you give them the chance to love you for who you are, not for the image you project. Real love, real friendships, real belonging come from that kind of openness. But if you never allow yourself to be vulnerable, you will always wonder if people love you for the real you or for the version of you that you let them see. True connection only happens when we are willing to show up as our whole selves, without masks, without pretending, without fear of judgment dictating our every move. It is easy to believe that being vulnerable will push people away, but the opposite is true. Vulnerability draws people in. It creates space for empathy, for understanding, for trust. When you share your struggles, you make it safe for others to do the same. When you admit your fears, you remind others that they are not alone. And when you show up with an open heart, you create relationships that are deep, honest, and unshakable. Vulnerability is also essential for growth. If you only stay in places where you feel completely comfortable, you will never evolve. Every step forward requires the willingness to take a risk, to step into the unknown, to be willing to fail. No great achievement has ever happened without someone first daring to be vulnerable, daring to believe in themselves, daring to take the first step, daring to try again after falling. Every successful person, every artist, every leader, every innovator has had moments of doubt, of struggle, of fear. But they pushed forward anyway, knowing that the only way to truly fail is to never try. Being vulnerable is not about oversharing or exposing yourself for the sake of it. It is about knowing when to let people in, when to share your truth, when to take the risk of being seen. It is about living in a way that aligns with who you truly are, rather than constantly trying to be what others expect. It is about standing in your truth, even when it feels uncomfortable, and trusting that you are enough, exactly as you are. There will be moments when vulnerability feels terrifying, when it feels easier to hide, to retreat, to put up walls. But every time you choose courage over fear, openness over hiding, authenticity over perfection, you strengthen your ability to navigate life with resilience and grace. You become someone who is not afraid to show up fully, to love deeply, to take chances, to live without regret. And that is real strength. So lean into vulnerability. Let yourself be seen. Take the risk. Speak your truth. Love with your whole heart. Show up for the life you want, even when there are no guarantees. Because the strongest people are not the ones who never feel fear. They are the ones who walk forward despite it. And that is the kind of strength that changes everything. Vulnerability is not a weakness to hide from. It is the foundation of true strength. It is what allows you to build deep connections, take meaningful risks, and live with authenticity. When you embrace vulnerability, you open yourself up to real love, real growth, and real success. You stop waiting for certainty and start showing up fully, even when there are no guarantees. Strength is not about avoiding discomfort. It is about walking through it with courage. So dare to be seen, to take risks, to speak your truth, and to live without fear of imperfection. The more you embrace vulnerability, the stronger, braver, and more fulfilled you become.